readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. Welcome back to the Brothers Gwynne channel. Today we are very excited to be launching our first video covering a month of releases.
Yes, we've got a really nice series planned, and that we're going to be doing one video at the beginning of every month of some really interesting and amazing book releases that are actually coming out. And what's even cooler is that the authors themselves will be doing their presentations. So, you know, this should be a fun video, guys. Please support it, support the authors.
Yeah, thank you so much to all of them who have agreed to do this. We got into this channel to talk about books and talk to authors and talk to readers, and so this just really helps us, and it was really interesting listening to their own, how they pitch their books to other people.
And you know, the publishing industry nowadays, whether you're self-publishing or going the trad route, it's so hard, so competitive. It's great to support any author, you know, no matter who they are. So so please go and support them. If you see a book that you think, oh, I might try this, then go and pre-order it.
And each of the books that are discussed in this video, I'll put a link below so you can find it quickly with just a click.
But in the meantime, guys, sit back, grab a cup of tea, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Hello, I'm Stephen Aryan, and I'm a traditionally published fantasy author. I've had 2 trilogies published by Orbit Books. The first one was The Age of Darkness, and the second one was The Age of Dread. My new duology is being published by Angry Robot Books, and the first novel, The Coward, comes out June the 8th. This tells the story of a young boy called Kel Cressier, who aged 17 went on an epic adventure with the most renowned heroes in the land, only for them all to die on the adventure, and he came back as the only survivor. The evil was vanquished, the ice lich was dead, and the land was saved when the ice receded. 10 years have now gone by, and he's been living a quiet life as a farmer, and in those 10 years his fame has grown. People have been telling stories all about him, and he doesn't want anything to do with any of it. However, 10 years on, a new terror has arisen in the north, and Kel is called on again to take up his sword, Slayer, and vanquish the evil. But he really doesn't want to do it, because as the title suggests, he just got extremely lucky. He wasn't skilled at all. So the novel is about a young man who's called to do something heroic at a young age, only for it to change him dramatically. It's about what happens to people after they come back from a war, or in this case a quest, the effects of PTSD on a person, and also how they cope with that, how they move forward, and how they grow. The book is about fame, it is about celebrity status, and is about a man coming to terms with the demons from his past, as well as how people treat him and how he is viewed by everybody else. So the tone of the book is fairly serious, but there is some black humour in there to balance it out, so it's not just miserable all the way through. I really wanted the book to have an epic feel and an old school quest type feel when they go on this grand adventure again for a second time. So it calls back to books that I loved in the past, but moves it on and makes it more current for today. Thanks for having me, guys. I hope to see you at a future convention, and good luck with the channel.
Hi, I'm Reid. I'm the author of The Wolf and the Woodsman. I graduated from Columbia in 2018 with a degree in political science with a focus on religion and ethnic nationalism in Eastern Europe. And that's really the main thing that inspired my book. The Wolf and the Woodsman is an epic but literary-leaning fantasy that's fairly bloody and brutal. Some people have described it as grimdark, though I'm not sure. I'm still not sure whether or not I agree with that assessment. And as I said, the inspiration for the book really came from my academic studies, as well as some of my just general frustrations with the fantasy genre, the way it takes for granted things like the homogeneity of nation states, the willingness of characters to die for their countries, that sort of unconscious and unbending patriotism. I wanted to problematize those things a little bit by writing a fantasy set in a country that's still very much struggling to define itself and using violence and other forms of coercion to create an unblemished and homogeneous whole. It definitely goes to some dark places, and I really didn't want to shy away from, real world, historically documented atrocities, ethnic cleansing, genocide, religious persecution, things like that. But there's also a strong romance element that I think keeps things lighter, and ultimately, it's a book about finding your place in the world and writing your own narrative, which are pretty universally relatable and I think hopeful themes.
Oh, hello there. I'm Dave Wragg, the author of the Articles of Faith series. It's a 2-book sequence which my agent has begged me to stop calling a bilogy. The first part, The Black Hawks, was released in October 2019. I'm here to talk to you about the concluding part, The Righteous, which is coming from Harper Voyager on the 10th of June. It's a work of what I'm assured is epic fantasy, about a crew of cutthroat mercenaries and their moral conscience just trying to stay alive and make a profit in a time of murderous upheaval. The Righteous picks up right where the Black Hawks left off, which is hard to talk about specifically while avoiding spoilers, so instead let me read you the summary from my website. Life doesn't always go to plan. Here are some hints at what you may encounter within. Breakneck escapes, new friends, old enemies, vice versa, explosions, political disagreements, cold places, hot places, more explosions, a nice bath, impending doom, fruit-based cocktails. I think that should give you a flavour. That's The Righteous, coming on the 10th of June from Harper Voyager. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Edward Cox, and you're watching The Brothers Gwynne. I'm here to tell you about my new novel, The Would-Be Queen, out from Gallant's on June 10th. This one is about the last librarian, Ebby Wren, whose best friend May sadly dies, but upon her death he discovers that she is not of this world, that she comes from a fabled place called the Realm, where they say that the sea is in the sky. Not only that, but May's dying wish is for Ebby to travel to the Realm and find her missing granddaughter, who is heir to House Would-Be, get it? And she's also the heir to the throne of the queendom of Strange Ground Beneath the Ski. But to help and to find her, Ebby first has to defeat the granddaughter's wicked aunt, who is keeping company with some very bad people in her desire to claim the throne for herself. In the book, you will find the spirits of dragons. Roman gods as you've never seen them before, action and adventure, of course, the trixiest of all tricksters, I would say, and details on how to mend broken friendships, life lessons too. I like to think of The Would-Be Queen as my feel-good book. Maybe I'm coining a new genre, feel-good fantasy, is that going to catch on? But I think that ace author Gavin G. Smith summed it up best when he said that this story is a much-needed breath of wonder in these times. I like that very much. I think it sums up what I tried to do in the book. So, The Would-Be Queen is out on June 10th from Gallant's, and this is The Brothers Gwynne.
Hello, I'm Adrian Goldsworthy. I'm an ancient historian and I've written non-fiction books, a lot about the Roman army, but also about Julius Caesar and, more recently, Philip II and Alexander of Macedon. I also write historical novels because I've always loved reading them. And I like a good adventure story, but I like the historical feel. If you can make the world seem real, then it's almost like historical tourism. You know, it gives you a sense of what this world might have been like faster, really, than reading non-fiction. It takes a lot longer to get a sense from that. Now, I've written novels set in the Peninsular War, but more recently I've turned to the Roman era, and I've written the Vindolanda trilogy that are inspired by the Vindolanda tablets and feature as their main character Flavius Ferox, once Prince of the Silures, tribe in what's now southern Wales, sent off as a hostage to Rome, made a citizen, made an officer, a centurion in the Roman army, and then eventually a regional centurion up on the edges of the empire because he's just been a nuisance to everybody wherever he's gone before that. Now, Ferox returns in the fort, but you don't need to have read the Vindolanda stories to get the best out of it, but it'll help. You'll see old friends if you do know them already. And the fort, whereas the Vindolanda stories were essentially westerns, they're frontier life, and Ferox is the marshal, the sheriff, the scout, then the fort is really a war story, and it occurs just after the First Dacian War of the Emperor Trajan. We're building up to a new conflict that will spill out into the Second War, and our characters are going to get caught up in it. So they're going to be besieged in this fort. So there's a lot of action, there's a lot of fighting, but hopefully there's a sense of all the different cultures, what it meant to be Roman and all the different things, but also what it meant to be Dacian. And I hope there's a good sense of humour running through it all, because all the soldiers I've ever met have joked a lot and laughed a lot. And I don't think it's realistic unless you've got that. The humour can be quite black, quite dark, quite crude at times. But I'm prouder in many ways of some of the jokes.
Hi, I'm G.R. Matthews, or Jeff Matthews, and I am the author of 7 Deaths of an Empire. It comes out in the US in hardback on the 22nd of June and ebook pretty much everywhere on that date, and then hardback on the 24th of June in the UK where I live. And it comes out looking like this, nice and pretty. It's got a lovely map on the inside which I drew, and obviously lots of words which I wrote in there. So it's a Roman inspired world really, and it begins with the death of an emperor. It's not a spoiler because it says at the top of the strapline, the emperor is dead, long live the emperor, empire even. And it kind of tells the story of 2 sides of that death. There is one side which is the aged General Borden who lives in the capital, and it's his job to try and keep the capital together, the empire together, while everybody vies for power and struggles to decide who's going to be the next emperor. I mean, it should go to the son, but there are other power plays going on. And it tells of Chiron, an apprentice magician, who's out on campaign with the emperor when he dies, and is tasked, along with an honour guard and his master, to bring the body back to the capital, because the body controls the succession. Whoever controls that body, whoever controls the emperor's body, has a chance to become the next emperor. And it's happened in the past that it's not the son or the daughter that's become the next emperor or empress, it's gone to other families as well. So there's lots of power struggles going on, and Borden tries to prevent the civil war, and Chiron learns more and more about his own magic, but more and more about his own culture as he travels back through the forests, where all the tribes that they've recently conquered are trying to take the emperor's body as well. It's called 7 Deaths because there are 7 deaths in it that are important. There are lots and lots of others. There's lots of battles and other things going on, but there are 7 deaths that the whole story hinges upon, that change it each time until it reaches a resolution. I hope you'll pick it up. I hope you'll read it. I enjoyed writing it. I enjoyed coming up with the world. And there is, just to help people at the back, there's a little glossary that tells you all the information that you need to know there, just in case you need it. But I really enjoyed writing it. The sequel is written. Hopefully get picked up and published as well. And I'm starting on the 3rd one at the moment. So 7 Deaths of an Empire. Please pick it up, have a read and enjoy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Miles Cameron. I'm actually Christian Cameron, and I'm here to talk to you about Artifact Space. So, Artifact Space is a science fiction novel set about 400 years in the future. A lot of bad things have happened to planet Earth, but people have managed to escape and go out into space and form colonies, and in fact sort of regrow human civilization. And they have giant ships that they escaped from Earth on that are shaped like Italian longswords. That's not by happenstance. I happen to love the Italian longsword. And I admit there is sword fighting elsewhere in the books. But they're not military science fiction. They are trade science fiction. I think you should imagine Venice in space. But it's not just Venice. It's a multicultural look at the whole of the human race, trying to establish a new civilization, and meeting up with aliens who are really, really alien. If that appeals, I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks.